Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. There's a little bit change in the scenery. I had to hijack my husband's office today because the kids are awake, so there's that. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. I want to address something today, as you can obviously see in the title. I want you guys to get to know me, a part of me a little bit more, and just a lot of people I know haven't sat with anyone or talked to anyone or gained this perspective from someone who's personally been through this. It was really on my heart to really address the topic of abortion, especially being a pastor of a church and someone who has personally made a decision of abortion. I know this may come maybe to a surprise to people, maybe not, and I'm very vocal about it, but I wanted to share my personal story of abortion and having sat in that seat, because it's so hard to sit and hear and listen to people talk about this particular situation without having the woman in mind, in a sense. And I want to bring another perspective, obviously sitting from both sides, making the decision when I didn't know Jesus, and then having made that decision as a believer still after giving my life to Christ. And honestly, that may have a lot to do with why I always say, for instance, when people are murdered or killed by law enforcement, let's just use that as an example, that it's hard for me as a believer to see other believers bring up their past, because I know many people, and myself included, who don't have the best past, and maybe it did not make the best decisions growing up, or any of those things. But I definitely want to get a little bit into it. So growing up, I had a lot of family members in the military, and my dad took care of my sister and I a lot. And when I was a sophomore in high school, he had open heart surgery and he had a massive stroke, and he went into a nursing home. But my dad was a Marine. I would always hear stories and him saying things about him being in the Marine Corps, and I wanted to go in the military too. And at that point in my life, when I was a senior, I honestly felt like that was my only option, was the military. I knew if I went to the military, I could go to college for free. I pretty much could retire out of the military, really be set, just have that one thing my entire life. I decided to join the military when I graduated from high school. I decided to swear in and join the military. I leave for my ship day to MEPS in Tampa. When I say I went to leave for my ship day, I mean I was on my way to basic training. I said bye to everyone, bye to all my friends, family, and I left my job I was working at the time, and I was on my way to the United States Army. I was on my way to be in the military. When I was there, we stayed in this hotel. We were in the hotel, and it was like they put you in this hotel with another person, and you get to know this person. And I honestly wish I had stayed in contact with this girl, because she was just so amazing. I honestly didn't even think that I would be leaving for the military or flying out to basic training in Missouri that next day. I thought I was going, so I didn't even bother to get any contact information from her, because I thought I was leaving for the military. Anyway, so they take you through all these physicals, all that fun stuff. In the military, they have you go through the morning. You get up at like 4 o'clock. We were late getting up. Surprise, surprise. I hate the morning, which is probably bad for the military, because you get up early. That one experience I had in the Army, with the Army. We got up early, and we were a little late, but we were getting up early to get our physicals done. We get up, we go to the doctor, they take your weight, they have you do a pregnancy test, they have you do all these physicals, all that stuff. And so I remember taking the test, and I was there with so many other, women in the room that we were all together. I remember them being kind of let go out of the room, getting their stuff, and then being able to go one by one. And I'm looking around like, I'm the last one? Like, I know my last name was Woodley, but like, dang, like, I'm the last one? Okay. And so I'm looking around, and then it was my turn. I was the last one left. And the doctor comes out and he was like, hey, can you come in here? And I'm like, yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, no one else went there. What is happening with me? And he said, I don't know if you know this. I'm going to guess you don't know. He said, but you're pregnant and, you can't go into the military. He told me that I had, 6 months to make a decision where I would still be, I wouldn't have to re-swear in. I wouldn't have to do all that, redo paperwork or anything like that, re-choose my MOS. He was like, but, you only have 6 months to make the decision. And after that, you have to go through everything again. But right now, you have to go back home. And so I remember sitting there just honestly being in complete shock. I mean, not total shock. I know how you get pregnant, but really in shock. I just did not know that I was gonna be pregnant, I didn't know that that's how I was gonna come home from the army. I didn't know that that's, how it was gonna happen. And so I get home and I just remember not even taking 24 hours. I remember just being like, I have to go into the military. I have to go to the military. Whatever I have to do to get there, I have to go. I didn't have options. I knew that if I stayed home, my life wasn't going to go anywhere. I wasn't going to do anything. That was my best bet. My best bet to get out was, in my mind, the U.S. Army. And I knew I had to get there. So now to the part where we get to the abortion clinic. So not even 24 hours later, the father and I, we go to the clinic. And we're there. And I remember there being picketers outside with signs. They were outside with the signs. There was this one lady, and she was so sweet. She was like, hey, can I talk to you? Can we talk? Can you meet me? Let's can we talk? She was very nice. She just kept going on and on about how I wasn't making the right decision. I wasn't making the right decision. I needed to think about the baby. And all she kept saying was, she meant well. She, in my mind, only did what she knew to do, was to try to talk me out of aborting my baby, And so I remember her going on and on about, this isn't it. You can't do this. And in my mind, all I could think of was, how am I going to take care of a baby? How am I going to take care of this baby? I don't have resources. I don't have anyone to help me. I'm a kid. I'm a teenager. How am I supposed to take care of a child? How am I supposed to do it? And I remember her going on, and in that entire thing that she said, all I could hear her was talk about the baby. And in my mind, in that moment, I thought, what about me? What about me? When I leave here and I don't make the decision, how am I supposed to take care of this baby? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to make sure this baby has food? How am I supposed to make sure this baby has a roof over its head? How am I supposed to make sure that I can take care of it, And I remember sitting there and waiting, and in the clinic, it wasn't a Planned Parenthood. And honestly, you'd be surprised about how many places do abortions and they're not Planned Parenthoods. That's not the only clinics. So anyway, I remember sitting in the chair. Everything was so cold, it was like it was in and out kind of thing. And I remember going back, and they asked me if I wanted to hear the baby's heartbeat. And I remember saying no, because I knew that if I heard the baby's heartbeat, I probably wasn't going to make that decision. I just remember sitting there having to be completely just emotionless, and in a sense in this state of denial that I was making the decision that honestly my whole life I said I would never do, I would never make. And I ended up that day having an abortion. That was 14 years ago. I would have had a 14-year-old right now. And I say that and I share that story for a couple reasons. I know that there are women out there who you may even know who have had to make that decision, and they live in this guilt. They live in this condemnation, in a sense, especially in the church world because you feel like you can't out yourself, if that makes sense. And I remember for so long, it took me about 3 years before I finally told someone about my abortion. And that's why I talk about it, because to me, it's more than just standing in front of an abortion clinic and telling someone that, abortion is wrong. To me, it's more than that. It hits a little closer to home for me, because I've experienced it firsthand. I also know that there's women out there who don't regret their decision. This is not trying to shame them either into feeling a certain way. I'm specifically talking about the people who do feel like that, who do feel ashamed, who do sit next to you in the pews and have experienced this while we go on and on and on, not caring and not showing empathy as to why someone would even make the decision. I can tell you this from personal experience. My decision was not made as a choice of birth control. I know so many women, and I've never met one who used or took that decision lightly and who made the decision based off of birth control. A lot of times it was people that were like me who felt like they did not have options. I can 100% tell you, which is why I get involved with crisis pregnancy centers and try to help women personally who are making the decision or trying to decide between life for their baby. I try to help them personally because I know what it's like. I understand when people are telling you to choose life for your baby, but then they don't want the resources to help you, or they don't give you the resources to help you. And I'm not saying that this lady was at fault. It's not on her as to why I had an abortion. She was doing what she only knew how to do. But I can tell you that if options were presented to me, I would not have made that decision. To date, I can say personally that I have helped over 30 women make the decision to not abort their babies. And I don't say that to boast on me by any stretch of the imagination. By any stretch of the imagination, I don't say that to boast on me. I say that because sometimes people just need to know that you care about them. Women just need to know that we care about them, that there are options, there are things. We do have a system in place that should be able to help them, that if they choose life, that we want to help them throughout their child's life, not just while they're in the womb, but when they leave that womb as well. Sometimes I think that it is hard for people, especially believers, to be in a place where we may say that it's either pro-life or bust, because I think it's deeper than that. Like I said, I think a lot of times people like me just don't have the options and don't know that there are options. That is my story. My heart is for people to understand what someone goes through when they sit in that seat. Sometimes we just don't know. And sometimes we can say things or move off things that we may necessarily not mean to do. And we obviously want the best. We should want the best for everyone involved, right? And so if there's anyone out there, any woman who has ever experienced that, if there's anything I can tell you, I want you to know you don't have to hold that guilt anymore. If you're struggling or hurting or trying to fight your way through it, I want you to know that you're not alone. Sometimes, myself included, I felt like I was so alone. And then once I started to share my story, I saw that there were more people, more women out there who made the decision that I did, and that they weren't alone, that I wasn't alone. And that there is healing. There's healing after that. There is healing. I know there's so many women who have had this guilt over 30 years, 40 years. And I just want you to know that you're not alone. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your freedom. And if there's anyone out there who just needs a friend, who wants to talk to someone, hear your story, share your story, you can inbox me, email me. I just want you to know that you're not alone. And that, yes, I am a pastor, and yes, I have experienced abortion. And that doesn't make me any less Christian. It doesn't make me any less of a believer. And there is no condemnation in Christ Jesus. I love you guys. You're the best. Thanks for listening. Thank you for allowing me to share such an intimate, deep part of myself in the quickest way I can. You're amazing. Love you guys. Bye.